Here we are once more at the pinnacle of self, that which is in a constant battle with ignorance, or what ignorance is struggling against, which is darkness struggling against the light, ignorance struggling against self-realization. So that which battles monks, monasteries and ashrams is that which fails to see the beauty of working together with free spirits and free minds, and that with peace, which then has been defined, the method, as satyagraha by he who was called Mahatma Gandhi. And now we stand here in the middle of an area that has been deforested and is now being used as a waste deposit in the heart of the Sauerland, which is a forest area in Germany, or so they say. It is most of all nature, and now it must be returned to it, and that is what we all feel, because there's nothing to get here anymore. And so now, as a student of environmental protection, I say, let's give it back as a peace offering, so that man and spirits can be friends again. And that is what we feel all, that there is an imbalance, and that first you find it in yourself, and then you see how the imbalance in yourself created an imbalance around yourself, and suddenly it all makes sense again. But ultimately, I feel that we are all responsible for ourselves, so I cannot do your work, I can only do mine, and then you can look for a different direction, a new horizon somewhere. Right, a horizon that looks promising to you. And maybe we should no longer travel. I fear like I can no longer travel, because I feel like this place needs me more than ever. As much as I would love to be somewhere in Africa, I may wander the plains of this for an eternity until it gets better, and then whatever you do must be passed on. And that's what I feel. And then there's the edge, and then you can just say, let's see. Yes. And it's so simple to give it all back, because nature knows what to do. And that is clearly being shown by movies like Nausicaa or others. And I feel we must help nature to get better, or nature will show us that it has claws, and that may bite and fight back if we continue with this madness. So here I am once more, fighting, struggling to stay alive as a spiritual being, as a spiritual warrior, listening to the message of my heart, going to where I'm being sent, and then making a snap judgment in the spur of the moment. So I'm back in my flow, and once more I'm being presented with the question, if I shall ever travel again. So sometimes I say these things standing on top saying I will never travel again, and then I feel like maybe I must travel again, because this was also important. Travel to an island, still here, and I swam in the ocean, and it was liberating. And I crave the ocean as an Aquarius. I feel like I must seek out water occasionally and then dive into it. And so all I can do as a spiritual traveler, as a warrior of nature, right, is seek out nature. There are things that I feel like are simply too nice. So is it the time to say no to all travel abroad and simply stay where you are? Or was traveling always something that humans did? That's a really good question that may be answered through action alone. So I think I will see what will happen. And sometimes you travel because something needs to be retrieved, and you just needed a place where you could not really escape whatever needed to happen. So I came back different from how I left, and that means something changed, and I feel clearer, much more clear. And so maybe all this demonization that not just I, but also others do, should come to an end. And simply to quote Terence McKenna, who said, "We are half angels, half demons," I think it's true, because behind the face of an angel clearly hides a demon, and behind the face of a demon clearly hides an angel, and in the middle there's the neither nor, or the neti neti. So if you look at the world and you say not this, then how much can you reject until you have to accept something? Because you can always say not this, but then what is it? And maybe if I say, let's say 100 times not this, and then the 101st time I see, okay, maybe now. So I'm a firm believer in bipedal, like you move with the stuff that you've been given, and then you test your own strength, and then you keep moving. And then you move and you move and you move. And then you get better at moving. And then you want to see other places. But if I go to see other places, then others want to go see other places as well. So my choices clearly impact that of my environment. But if I show now how awesome this area is, and then other people think, oh, it's much better than where I come from, and then they come to travel here, then they clearly fail to see what I found here, which is myself, which is where I popped out of the ground, suddenly there, and now I'm here. So Must I never leave? Should I forever stay? Well, that's hard to say. I feel like I've got everything I need. I've got mountains, I've got water, I've got a soil to walk on, I've got birds to listen to, I've got a voice to sing with. Because if I go there somewhere, then my tourism destroys the local culture or keeps it alive. But what has been clearly shown is that if one traveler discovers a place and then shares it through his work, let's say in an article, in the Lonely Planet books, in a video, in a post, then other people come, right? Because now they've got money, they can travel there as well, but they travel there with a completely different mindset. And then they immediately start to destroy this place. And you can see that the pizza baker in Amsterdam has become a slave to the tourist industry. He can no longer make his pizza with respect because there's a tourist shoving a camera into his face. And that's what I'm afraid of by producing content and sharing, right, the place where I am. I'm afraid of this. So how much responsibility am I to take? And can there be a benefit of people coming here to a silent retreat and then going back home? And I say clearly not. Clearly not. Because the silent retreat should be built with your own two hands for the people that live where you are. And so I cannot do this for anyone outside of here, is one part of me saying. And the other part is saying, but maybe I would like to travel. Maybe I would like to travel. And now there's a fence. Can this obstacle be overcome, he wonders. What is the obstacle? Maybe there's a reason for this fence. Because maybe they have planted crops here. And maybe it's toxic. So I'm just gonna walk till the end and then go to the left. Now, one thing you have to deal with is clearly topics of paranoia. Because if you're hearing helicopters searching for you, then the question is, why do you think what you're doing is bad? Maybe they want you to do it. And maybe they're just interested in what you're doing and how you're doing it. Because in the end, we are all here together. But I do simply also outmaneuver helicopters. And I feel like all these machines we have, everything that runs on this petrol, also clearly comes from an age of war. And what we seek is peace. But there are certain answers that are really hard to give. If somebody looks for healing, then healing he should get. But sitting in a car and driving to a faraway place that looks more promising than where you are right now seems to be an idiocracy. Because you look for healing, but in sickness thou bathest. Because driving in a car is making yourself sick, the people that drive with you sick, and the environment sick. So you're leaving a trail of sickness. And then you say, well, what is filming myself? Is that not the same? Well, choices need to be made, each to their own. I think there's much to gain here. That's what I clearly feel. Just by staying where you are and then hiking to where you want to be. And if you'd want to be at the ocean, well, then you'd have a hell of a hike in front of you. And that's then what I feel like I would like to do. Just hike incredibly far. And the message is clearly, be where you are. Learn to be where you are, because that's where you were meant to be. So where you came out of the ground, that's where the people need you the most. And that's the hardest lesson of all, because we were all pulled away from these places, and while we were gone, they were taken away by large corporations. They were hacked to bits. There were houses being built, land being claimed, because we were busy traveling, always looking elsewhere, forgetting that this too is our land. And Jake Sully came from Earth, and then he fought for someone else. So how much do I need to be here? Right, I'm as wiggly as anyone else. I do what I can. I'm also hard to pin down. So unless I would really feel like I need to be here at all times, I'd probably occasionally leave. Because the time I spent in Africa also clearly helped me to find myself, to learn about myself. And then you could also say, well, you know, we're all spirits traveling through time, and time is an ocean of energy. And so I live underwater because I'm an Aquarius. That's why I'm in flow, because I'm in my element. And as above, so below. And as behind, so before, maybe. So the future is in a way the past, and we're all still here together. And if I really feel drawn to another place elsewhere, I'll say, isn't this beautiful? Isn't this what we came here to be? Wandering spirits, not sitting spirits, but wandering spirits. Spirits that live life to the fullest and that realize themselves by living an active and conscious life. Refraining from eating sugar is one of the best things I have done. So I changed my refrain. I changed one of my habits. And I came back to a, well, it's hard to say fully realized being, but I'm getting close to it. I'm clearly a bit undercover, which makes sense given the ancient texts that clearly said that they were looking for people who realized certain things about themselves and the world. So he who seeks power solely for himself shall go down with the armies of Mordor at the end of all days. And then we shall begin a new age of sunshine and peace and bliss, until the corruption spreads once more through the body of nature, or the bodies of nature which you and I belong to. And that is what I have seen and felt and learned. And everything else must be dealt with accordingly. And that is probably the mission that we all share. Look at the world, ask yourself, where does war get us? And then look at the children that come out of times of war, the children of the industry that turn into mere demons, a shadow of their former selves, perhaps as punishment for their ignorance. So it's always the next generation that needs to face the choices of the previous one. But there is no need to loom it over them, because I too have been corrupted, and it took me several lifetimes of meditation to work on these things. So it's always in waves. You're conscious, you're unconscious. You're conscious, you're unconscious.